Invoice reports. There are several invoice related reports available in Oracle Payables. However, I have picked a couple of them which are quite important and it's good to know them. So let's go through the ones that I've picked, and I'm going to demonstrate you within Oracle applications as well. So starting with Invoice Aging Report, it helps you to view your unpaid invoices. This report provides information about invoice payment due to the suppliers within 4 time periods you specify in Aging Periods window. You may also call aging periods as aging buckets. It's like synonym. And it helps you to see what are my pending invoices before supplier starts communicating and shouting at you to pay and clear the payment to them. So you may want to take a action internally to have the payment processed to the suppliers. Then the second one is Invoice Audit Listing. You use this report to audit invoices for duplicates. There is always a room for human error. Someone has entered the invoice, he kind of forgot to mark it, and then he re-entered it, so you end up in having duplicates. You should audit invoices periodically to ensure control of invoice payments, and you can sort this report in 6 different ways. For example, you may want to only audit invoices over $1,000. You can specify a minimum invoice amount and sort the amount and then by supplier name and date. So it helps you to only view the invoices which are above $1,000 as an example. You can also use this report to obtain a listing of your invoices by invoice type. So you've got different kinds of invoices. For example, you've got a PO matched invoices, or you've got quick invoices, or you've got manually entered invoices, or you've got invoices imported from external sources. So what are these? These are like different invoice types. And then while running the report, you can simply choose that invoice type to precisely print the invoices within that category. Then you've got Invoice History Report. You use this report to support the balance due on an invoice. So the first one is you haven't paid the invoice at all. This one is it helps you to view the balance due. For example, you've only paid half of the balance of supplier invoice and half is still due. Hence it helps you to quickly identify and review a detailed list of payment activities pertaining to a specific invoice, such as gains, losses and discounts. And all the amounts on this report are shown in the payment currency. So let's go to Oracle applications and let's run these reports, and then we're going to come back and go through the rest of the reports. So the first one is Invoice Aging Report. So I'm going to go to Submit New Request, hit the OK button and look for Invoice Aging Report. There you go. And here you can choose to include invoice detail in your report output. So I'm going to leave it as no to try to keep it minimum, and if you want to specify an amount, then you can as well do that. You can also choose an invoice type. So let's say you can see the number of different types of invoices I was talking about it earlier. So I'm gonna cancel that, and I would rather choose a trading partner. I'm just thinking which one I should choose. So let's say G Plastic and see how it goes. And then aging period name. So you've got different aging periods that has been defined, such as a PSA aging periods or a weekly aging periods, or a standard monthly aging period, so month by month. So let's choose this one, and I'm going to hit OK and then submit. And then I'm going to submit a next report here, which is Invoice Audit Listing Report. So the minimum invoice amount here, let's say, is 500. Invoice date, give a earlier date. Invoice sort option is, I want to sort it by supplier, and then hit the OK button. So I'm gonna simply hit OK and then submit, and then hit yes again. And let's submit the third report, which is Invoice History Report, which provides the balance due for a specific supplier. Okay, and here you got to choose a supplier, but this is optional. You can either choose a supplier, or you can provide an invoice range, or if you have a payment voucher number range, then you can also provide payment voucher number, or you can simply provide the dates. So let's say the same supplier, G Plastic. Chances are that we may not get any output in this report at all. And then submit. Hit no, and then refresh data. Let's view the report outputs. So the first one that we submitted was Invoice Aging Report. And if at all there are no aging, then you may not get any data. So look at that. You've got the total invoice amount remaining to be paid. Here is 16,084.62. And then in the buckets that you have defined, although it doesn't fit in any of these buckets, but the current one that is pending is 6085, which is 38% of the total amount remaining. So that was Invoice Aging Report. You may try to run for a different set of data and do further analysis if you like. And the second one that we ran was Invoice Audit Report. View the output, and let's see if we get any output. Look at that, it's still fetching the output, so we'll go back. So there you go, it's kind of produced an XML output and it hasn't formatted it, and probably that's the reason why it has given that warning. So I guess the issue is in Oracle XML builder. So the report builder has not fired in terms of the template, hence the data remains unformatted. Okay, but anyway, let's have a quick look. So you can see the invoice number, and you can see the dates on which it was processed, right? And if you come down here, you would also see the invoice amount that was processed. Okay, so it's kind of self-explanatory. However, it hasn't been formatted as yet. Okay, but never mind, you understood the functionality. So let's proceed ahead and let's see whether Invoice History Report got finished. So it has indeed. So let's view the output and see if anything has come. And you can see that the invoice balance amount is clearly shown. So first column is invoice number and this one is balance. Okay, and you may see the details of that over here down, and that was Invoice History Report, which helps you to find the balance due. Alright, and you can see the payment currency as well. Alright, so That sounds good. Now let's proceed ahead and let's go through rest of the invoice related reports. Then I've got something called as invoice on hold report. The name clearly tells what it is. It basically helps you to identify invoices which are on some kind of a hold. The report provides you the total number and amount in your ledger's currency of the invoices on hold, which can be helpful for your account payables clerks and other account payable staff to understand why the invoices were put on hold, and if at all there was a non-compliance issue on the part of suppliers, then they can follow up to make sure that has been resolved so that the hold can be released and the invoice could be processed for a payment. And in this case, you've got to run the invoice validation process before submitting this report to obtain the most up-to-date hold information. What happens is when you validate an invoice, Oracle automatically checks for any inconsistency within the invoice and applies a system hold automatically. So that's the advantage of running a validation process manually or via a automated concurrent program. Then the next report that we have here is invoice register, which details information about the invoices. Payables orders the report by invoice currency, and if you use the invoice batch control option in Payables, then you can also sort the data by invoice batch name. However, in the present operating unit which I'm showing, the batch control is not enabled. Within the currency and batch name, the report orders by the supplier name and invoice number. Which is straightforward to understand. It's more information about the invoices. And then you have prepayment status report. You use this report to review your unapplied prepayments or advances received from your supplier and any unpaid or partially paid invoices for a supplier. You can compare the invoices and prepayments for a supplier to determine if at all there are any outstanding prepayments which can be potentially applied to unpaid invoices. You can submit the report for either temporary or permanent prepayments or a combination of both the prepayment or a combination of a specific prepayment type with credit, debit memos and invoices. You can view the distribution details for validated and paid prepayment invoices. Payables displays the prepayment item distributions that have an amount remaining greater than 0. In summary, this report details all about prepayments, whether they have been applied fully or partly applied, and if at all prepayments are not applied, then it details information about prepayment including their distribution details so that you can pick up those unapplied prepayments and you can potentially apply it to invoices which are due. Then the next one which I have over here, which is the last one for invoices that we have, is recurring invoices report. And you use this report to review your recurring invoice templates you have defined during a specific time period. You can review this report to determine the amount that you have authorized for a recurring invoice template, how much you have released, and the next amount that is scheduled. As an example, let's say you have made a recurring invoice template for 12 months to pay your office rent, and every month the invoice gets released and paid to suppliers. But say something has gone wrong in the office and you have made some expenses to rectify that problem, and then you have worked with the supplier to settle this amount from the rent. So you want to hold that next payment and you want to deduct the amount and then pay the remaining amount to the supplier. So in such a situation, this kind of report could be useful. That's just one example. There could be many other scenarios. This report also lists the number of periods remaining for a recurring invoice and the next period you have scheduled. Alright, so let's go into Oracle applications and run these 4 reports one by one. So we're going to start by invoice on hold report, which will identify invoices which are on hold. So submit a new request and start typing invoice on hold report. And then you can run this invoice by hold name as well. You've got system defined holds or user defined hold, and you want to simply list down invoices for a specific hold, then you can do that by choosing that hold name over here. You can also choose several other criteria that are here. So trading partner, which is nothing but your supplier name. So I'm going to give G plastic, and I'm going to leave rest of the parameters empty, which are more or less self-explanatory. And then I'm going to hit the OK button and submit, and then hit yes to submit the next report, which is invoice register, details about invoices for suppliers. You can choose a supplier name, so let's say G Plastics, and you can also choose an invoice type, entered by, so let's say entered by whom, operations. It's nothing but the username, and you can as well give the dates on which the invoice were entered. So I guess it's a good idea to restrict this to a smaller period, is it not? So what I'm going to do it is I'm going to enter a period here as we should have considerably smaller set of data. You can further filter it down by giving a specific accounting period if you like, but in that case giving the from and to date wouldn't hold good. And then you've got the option to include only the cancelled invoices or only the unvalidated invoices. And hit OK, and then hit submit. Again hit yes, and I'm gonna hit submit the next report, prepayment status report. So I'm gonna type that. That's the one. And if at all there are any prepayments, so there should be very few prepayments, so I'm gonna submit it for all the suppliers. Okay, and hit the OK button and then submit. Then yes, I'm gonna go back and submit recurring invoices report. So that's the one. You can give a date if you like. So let's say 01 January 2007 to the present date, and then open items only, yes, and order by template number or creation date. Let's say creation date, hit OK. Chances are that we may not get any output in this report at all. Okay, now hit no button and let's start reviewing the report output. Look at that, we also got an error. Wow. And the first one was invoice on hold report, which is what we got an error. Let's see if at all there is any output. Okay, let's view the log and why this error has come. Okay, so it looked like a server problem. The environment variable base path hasn't been set for payables, and hence it's giving us this issue. So I'm going to ignore this, but anyway, you understood the functionality of what this report is all about. So we're going to move on and we'll go to invoice register, which is also ended up in warning. So chances are that it could be similar to a previous one when we got the warning, which this one wherein we got it unformatted output. So let's see this one. Yeah, it's exactly the same issue, that it looks like the XML builder is having some problem. The template hasn't been applied. Okay, but never mind. We're gonna move on, and then you've got prepayment status report, and we'll view its output and look at that. So there are a couple of prepayments. It gives us the invoice type, the invoice number, the date, invoice amount, and amount remaining description. And there you go, that's the prepayment, and invoice date, the settlement date, the invoice amount, the withheld amount, and the amount remaining which are yet to be applied. So this amount can be applied to an unpaid invoice. Alright, so this report looks pretty useful, prepayment status report. Okay, and then let's see what was the next one. It was recurring invoices report. So let's go back, and still running. Okay, it's completed. View output, and no data found, but never mind, I have explained you the functionality of this report, and you can try with different combinations of data in your own demonstration environment.